Hello, 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 hello.
Yo,
Those
what's
who just got on, man. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? We coming in the room. We live. We in this thing, man. I am off site. I am off site. Kicking it with the crew. I see you, Jenny. You look at you, lady in red. Let me find out.
what's up?
What,
What's up?
what's happening? The other ladies are coming in. Oh, there she go. Dr. B is on her way. Yeah. All right, while the ladies come in, I want to say again, welcome to the podcast. You know, the full 180. So I'm getting on every Monday at 7:30. Apologize, had to restart some things. You know, computer technical difficulties are always one of my things, unfortunately. But other than that, man, we make it happen. We do not end again. I'm gonna put a QR code so you can actually scan in, so you can watch the show from wherever you are. You can share it with whoever. You can also subscribe to the channel, man. You can also subscribe to these individuals personally. They'll give you all their info at the end of the show. But today, man, last week we did it for the men. Today, we're doing it for the women. What I mean by women, man, welcome to the women tribe. That's right. These three ladies are going to take you to the women tribe. And what we're doing today is we are restoring. You heard it, say it with me, restoring sisterhood, and you are safe here. I have three good sisters here, man. JJ, aka Jules, Lil Webby, the dictionary, and of course, you know, Dr. B. And they're gonna dig into some of the modern things that's going on now. So things that women might need to update, things that are hot topics. We want you to chime in on the show. Please comment. If you got any comments and questions about anything going on, we will definitely get them in. Like I said, I'm off site, but I'm always here to make it happen. So I'm going to step back like some dudes need to learn how to do and get out the way and let these ladies have it. Ladies, hello, and how are you? Y'all got the flow.
Hello, hello. Doing well. Thank you.
Hello, hello. Doing great, great, great.
Well, I'm
Awesome.
saying hello on mute.
Hi, you was still on mute.
Don't judge me.
That's all right. So what are we bringing to the table, ladies? What do we need to tell what they say, the young folk, the old folk, and everybody in between?
A lot out here folks need to know. Well, one, I know I was kind of having a discussion earlier about how we as women want our men to be out here hustling, bustling, getting the bags, several bags, all the bags, and then yet complain when they're unavailable. And it's not that they're unavailable because they out here in these streets. They unavailable because they out here trying to provide a better life for him and you or y'all's family.
Right. And so when you talk about that, like what type of jobs are we talking about? Are we being specific, or we're just saying just like in general?
I wasn't thinking about anything specific, but just if he's a teacher and got a side hustle, or he's a governor. I mean, it's broad. I wasn't putting limitations on it.
Because I know that, rest his soul, we had somebody out here telling men, about, what do you call them? What's the word that was used? High value men, things like that. And women should just settle for knowing that he's going to always be, out in the streets, and we shouldn't be upset if, we have somebody that's out here working and things like that, which is true. When we have a man that's working hard and he's providing and things like that, we are supposed to be the peace, at home.
He called him the 1%er.
Right. But a lot of men, a lot of women think that means, that they're supposed to be, mainly, 6 figures or something like that. Like, there are some men that work really, really hard that don't make 6 figures, and they still work hard to provide for their family. And so, one of the things that he used to talk about is that, we as women tend to not date anyone under a certain income bracket. And I just want to get into that. Just would you date somebody that made less money than you? Would you know, how do you feel about being with someone, you know, in that? Because the reason why I bring this up is because through my journey, eventually when I finally finish, I will be making six figures. And that doesn't mean that I'm, you know, the head of my household or I'm better than my man. He's still the leader. He's still, you know, the provider. It's just so happened that I may or may not, you know, be making six figures. And in my mind, if we're married, that's our money, regardless.
Right.
Regardless of what he's making. He still leads this household, period.
I want to add something to think about before everybody else answers that. I think women confuse high value with high income. They are not the same.
For
And
sure.
that's what I was getting to. That's exactly what I was getting to. It's just like, just because you make a lot of money or not, that does not produce value at all. Because you can have a person, you can have a woman or man who's a multimillionaire and still be trash at heart and still be a bad person. You know what I mean? And still not know how to do the things to take care of themselves.
Right.
You know, and so I think that's one of the things that we, especially as women, we confuse it all the time. It's like, well, what kind of money he making? Like, but that doesn't make the man. There's so much more to a man than the money that he makes.
And I don't know how that's become such a thing here where we've combined and convoluted the two when they're two totally different things. High value doesn't equate high income, and high income doesn't equate high value.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
If he's high income, you're not the only one.
Yeah. And in my opinion, I just feel like it comes from like how we were raised, especially like within our culture. We are raised that a man is supposed to provide, you know, and a woman, you know, typically is supposed to be at home taking care of the kids. But I think somewhere along the line, that's got misconstrued to mean that he has to make a certain amount of money. And if I'm working, then he doesn't get the same respect as a man who provides everything to where a woman doesn't have to work.
What you think, JJ, Jules?
I'm on board with what y'all are talking about. I think that for me personally, I definitely, how I say this, I find it difficult for me, my thought process here. I find it difficult for me to kind of identify whether or not he has to make a certain dollar rate. It's really not the dollars that matter. It's, you know, how we blend together and make decisions, really. You know, it's really for me more about, you know, what kind of needs other than the dollar does he make. You know, sometimes the dollar can compensate for certain things, and sometimes the dollar can't compensate for certain things. Like, I make a lot of money, and I'm not really looking for somebody that makes a lot of money, but if they make a lot of money, that's great. It just adds, it helps the pot. It helps us build on something. But I'm also not looking for somebody that's like, you know, it's hard to be with somebody that don't come to the table with the same thing you come to the table with, because they don't sometimes value it as you value it. Not like, I don't want to seem conceited or anything like that, but look, I feel like when you get to a certain living style of how you live comfortably, when you bring other people in, you start building a family, you want to continue at that level and grow up. So when somebody comes in and say they make marginally less than I make or whatever, it's not a big deal if they add into the family, if they add more quality time, or they add more structure to our lives, if they are, you know, they add value, you know. But don't come in and thinking that, you know, just because you can pay a couple of bills, that's everything. You know, it's not everything. You know, even for me, I can pay a couple of bills, but it ain't everything in a relationship. It's just icing really on the cake. You know, the relationship is the biggest part of it. You know, how we are able to handle just life and be able to build from that. Money is not everything, but it does make life better. Let's just say that.
I've
So,
heard.
of course, she said something that made that just. I'm gonna ask a question. I'm just asking a question. She made a comment talking about what do you bring to the table?
Yeah.
What does that term or that phrase mean indicative? Like, can
Like
you
anything,
expound on
I got
if
one. I'm
I
gonna let her
ask you,
go, but I got
if
one.
I ask you, what do you bring? If I say, well, what do you bring to the table? This is what I mean. What do
Okay.
you
So
bring to the table that's going to add value to my life? Not my
right,
pocketbook, not
right.
anything else. What are you going to add to it?
Right. So like I think that's a question that should always be asked in any kind of relationship. Like for me personally, I always feel like if I'm coming to the table, then I'm gonna bring a little more structure. I'm gonna bring curiosity, creativity. I'm going to make sure that my family has the basics. Like I don't need you to hustle in certain areas in our family life because I go hard in those areas, you know. So I'm gonna make sure that, you know, we have certain things and that whatever you bring to me, I'm gonna multiply it. Like I'm trying to make sure that I'm giving value to that relationship. I'm supportive, I'm encouraging, I show up for you, you know, I rally for you. And our family and everything like that. So when you talk about coming to the table with something, it's more than just um financials or accolades or things like that. It's about what role do you play in a relationship? And because I don't need a person that's playing the same role as I'm playing. Because I mean, we don't need two Indians and two chiefs, you know. I
Oh, you froze.
Lil Webby, while she unfreezes, go ahead.
So I just watched this TikTok at Old Dark 30 this morning where a man was asking a woman what she brought to the table. And of course, the first thing she said was finances, everything was material. And she was saying that's the problem with that question is that both men and women identify that question with material things that are tangible. And nobody says, oh, well, I bring security. I bring a safe place. I bring a place for you to speak freely. I bring love and understanding, compassion. Nobody's saying those things because I think for so long, society has conditioned us to believe that what we bring to the table has to be monetary. Well, both of us work. It's 2023.
And with that is basically, you know, you bring in a balance to where, in my opinion, that, you know, no one person has to carry the full load for everything. You know, whether if one person is carrying the financial load, then the other person carries the making a home load. You know what I mean? Making sure, you know, it's just kind of bringing that balance. I remember watching something a long time ago, and the guy was just like, well, don't tell me you're gonna cook for me. I can hire somebody for that. But yes, you can, and you can go to a restaurant and eat and everything, but it's not going to be made with the same type of love and the same type of, you know, care. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna feel the same. It's definitely just gonna be, you know, just a meal. You know, and it's more to it than that. You know, to sit at a table with somebody you love, have a conversation, tell me about your day. You know, bounce ideas off of, whether it's in business or just, you know, any of those things. It's more to it than just, like you say, those tangible things.
Absolutely.
I agree. And I think even nowadays we work, like you said, the men work, like it should be a balance of, you know, roles and responsibilities, you know, not that you do exactly what I do, but pull some weight at home. Like I pull weight at home in some form of fashion, you know. We don't have to do all the things, or, you know, like I don't have to cook tonight. Let's just order in and just spend some time together, you know, versus, you know, I'm in the kitchen slaving trying to get this meal together. And by the time I get done cleaning the kitchen and cooking, I'm exhausted and we don't have no time together. But you chilling in front of the TV, and here I'm off to go, try to take care of the kids and wash a load and do all these other things. Let's help each other. You wash a load and put the kids down while I do the dishes and all these other things, so we can come together and just relax. There should be like a balance. And, I think somewhere along the line, I feel like the equality of women when it comes to like that balance of home life didn't catch up. It's not as caught up as, like equal pay, like men still expect women to cook and clean and support them and do all these other things and go out and work, and go out and work and bring some money home, and baby, where my shoes at, baby, where my clothes at, and all that extra stuff. And it's not as balanced. So, when you're going into a relationship, it's that thought process is like, if he come into the table, he working, I'm working, and then you do the dishes and I clean, or you cook and I clean, or this week you take the boys to soccer, this week I'm gonna take the girls to basketball, or whatever it is. There's a balance to the relationship as far as task wise, but emotionally, making sure that we are also taking care of ourselves, in that process.
And we also have to be careful to understand that men are not natural nurturers. They don't see things analytically like we see them. It's cut and dry. It's just straight up, you know what I mean? And so what I've learned is that even though, he may come home and, feel like he's dog tired, we both have worked. But for some reason, it just feels like, it's at least from my experience with the relationship I'm in, it's like we just look at each other and we know, what level of tired we are, and we just come in and just, start. Like, he's very OCD with cleaning. I clean, but I don't clean like he clean. So he may come behind me and clean some more things, but I'm a beast in the kitchen. He can cook, but you know what I'm saying, I may come through and do something a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just like you just have to really pay attention to one another. You know what I mean? DJ, you know what? I need you to stay on mute when I say this. But I've learned that even when I do feel dog tired, I've learned to not downgrade, like as if my job was so much harder than his, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, if he doesn't do it to me, he's like, well, I'm tired too. And it's never any of that. It's just, certain things we just know, you know what I mean? And I just, one of the things that I want to say is that the women, even if a woman does, work longer hours, run a business, or make more money, anything like that, you still got to be careful not to downgrade that man and make it to where he doesn't have a safe space. There is a way to handle everything, even if you feel like you're pulling all the weight. Because like I said, they're not natural nurturers. We unfortunately, we are burdened. It's not really a burden, but we are burdened with the analyzing from A to B to J to K to L. You know what I mean? We go through all those things to get to Z. And so I feel like that God has equipped us to be able to handle those things, which is why we, give birth to the babies and we're the nurturers and all those things, if any of that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, but it posed a good question. So do you think women now want a husband, or do they want an assistant?
Most of the time,
they say they want husbands. They say they want husbands, but they really want an assistant.
I think unfortunately, between 20 and 30, even me, at that time, I wanted an assistant. I want to help them bills and these kids, because I was a divorcee. So I was like, oh Lord, I didn't think I was gonna have to do this by myself. And so I was that person. It's like, well, what kind of money he making? Can he pay some of the bills? You know what I'm saying? I'm saving some money, you know, things like that. So yes, I wanted a husband, but for me at the time was a little bit different, a different reason. Now that I'm older, you know, I want someone else to grow old with. You know, I'm almost an empty nester. You know, I want, not saying that I'm using him so I don't be lonely, but you know, it's just think about those things. You know, it's businesses that I want to do, and if he has that same business mindset, it's a lot of things that we want to build, you know, and grow old together and pray together, and you know what I mean, and all those things. So yeah, unfortunately.
I think some women mask saying they want husbands, but in reality, given the information they're providing, they want assistance. Because I see so many women now on social media saying, well, I need somebody to take care of me. Same thing what Bree was saying. I need somebody to pay my bills. I need somebody to help me with these kids who are not theirs. I need. That's not a husband.
No.
Not saying that your husband is not supposed to provide for you. And I'm not saying your husband is not there to take care of your needs. But the way they coming off is sounding like that these women, that's the only thing, that they're the only person that's benefiting.
I think that I agree with you when you say that. And I think that the younger you are, like in as far as youth wise and experience, I think in the beginning, you just want somebody to help you, you know, to support you, help you, you know, get through all these things of life, you know, like the kids and just bills and all these other things. But as you grow older, you learn that all that stuff isn't as important, you know. It's not going to be with you forever. It's not what you're going to remember when you're 80, you know, things like that. It's the actual companionship of doing something with somebody and not trying to keep up with the Joneses, you know. So I think that, you know, it's your perspective on your relationships when you get to certain ages where you're just like, yeah, he was a great provider, but, you know, we didn't talk, or we didn't communicate well, or we didn't spend time together, or we didn't enjoy life. Like, I'm in a stage where I want to just enjoy life. Like, all that task stuff, it'll be here. It's going to be here. It's going to be a part of our life forever. But to have a companion who's right there with you in the thick of it, that is somebody you can communicate and trust about anything, somebody you can take your everything to, is more important than just having somebody to boss around.
Because at the end of the day, you know, everything that you have is material, but if something, you know, God forbid something happens where you lose your house, you lose your car, you lose your job and all that stuff, do you know that this person is still going to be with you to help? Are y'all going to be rebuilding together? Or are you just going to blame each other and say, well, we ain't got nothing, so there's no reason to be together?
But people do that.
They do.
I did have a question that came up. At our age and our life experience with, you know, been working, because we're you know, we're over 35.
Funny.
We over 35. But if a man came along, which, you know, and said, hey, I have everything you could possibly think. He got a nice house, he has money, he has all these things, and he says he don't want you to work and he'll take care of you. He just wants you to be at home, would you do it?
That's gonna be tough for me.
Why? And the reason I'm asking is because I had this conversation with someone. He's 40, just turned 40. Well, not really a conversation, but it was like online. And he's looking for like a 20-something-year-old. He's like, you know, I'm looking for somebody that has, you know, basically has no life experience, that he could pretty much just take care of her. And she won't be ready. But I said, these 20-year-olds, these 18-year-olds, these 18-year-olds have built businesses, like $1 million businesses now. Like these 20-year-olds, they are in business now. Like it's really getting hard to find women like that. You know what I mean? But I just was scared. I wanted to throw that out there and see how y'all felt about it.
No, he's lying. He wants somebody to mold, not take care of. He wants to mold because he knows that that child doesn't have any life experiences and he has all the experiences. And because he knows that she doesn't know, he knows she's going to follow and believe everything that he says.
Yeah, I agree. She more innocent and naive to whatever else, that he is going to bring to the table. He'll be able to mold and control.
But why wouldn't y'all date someone?
I wouldn't date a man who wants me to stay at home because it just goes against my personality. Like, I'm a worker bee, I mean, I can stay at home, but I'm probably gonna create another business. I'm gonna try to do something else. I'm gonna be out here creating some social circle. I'm just not that person. Like, I'm not a homebody. So it doesn't work for me. And plus, that's not what I need from a man. Just because you can pay the bills and you can provide everything. I mean, you got a relationship with God. You got some healing hands. I mean, what else you got? Something else. I mean, you got a good personality that we can crack up and laugh all the time and enjoy each other's company. You like to travel and see things like I do. Like, I mean, it has to be more there than just the financial piece, The financial piece is, like I said, is like icing on the cake and make everything easier, make your lifestyle easier, but it's not the end all for a relationship.
But to these people now, it is, and this is even with people our age, because they've, as you say, we're over 35, so we have friends who are divorced. We've been divorced. Well, I'm divorced, and your perspective changes a little bit as it relates to marriage and things like that. But even now, I don't want my man to just take on that type of load when he doesn't have to. I enjoy working. I enjoy my current profession. I can't wait to step into the next profession once I finish school, preferably in December. So I enjoy that. And we can do things together. I've never wanted to be with a man who lacked ambition, because I'm very ambitious and I don't accept mediocrity at all. So I couldn't, that just seems very mediocre to me for a man to say, okay, baby, you ain't got to work. You ain't got to do this. You ain't got to do that. So what am I supposed to do? So are you saying that to feed your ego? Or are you saying it because that's a conversation you and I had?
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree with that. I think a lot of times, I think that's what he feels is his value. If he can take care of you and provide for you, sometimes that's just what he feels at his value. Sometimes he just doesn't know, and that's the way they grow up, because it's something that's old school. My daddy was big on that. I got, a woman, if I can have multiple women if I can just take care of them, and that's okay. So that's what they grew up on. If you could take care of a woman, that's your job. I mean, was to provide.
I think now we need to focus on what taking care of me looks like. Yes, I do want my man to take care of me and provide for me, but what that looks like for me is going to be different for somebody else, because I may not need you to take care of me financially. I may need you to take care of my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I may need you to help me work through my traumas. Well, sorry, be supportive with me as I work through my traumas, because my traumas are my traumas, and now I'm the one that have to deal with it. Right. That's what I may need you to take care of or help provide.
Right.
Like, if you like me and fall down the stairs and you can't use one of your legs, and your man is helping you, do all that stuff and get back to your full potential, that's also taking care of you. Now, I'm joking about it, but that's real. Like, I know DJ Tricky specifically, and I know when we first got started with the podcast, you know, when we would leave the studio and things, they would get upset about us, you know, touching doors. You know, that's a form of taking care of somebody. You know, if you, I mean, it's just like those little simple things that
Protection, safety.
you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, making sure you're okay. You know, texting you and checking on you. You know, there's a bunch of ways to take care of somebody besides money, like you said.
Protecting my peace.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And respecting my boundaries, but people don't talk about boundaries in a relationship.
Ooh.
Yeah,
really. Like,
that's another conversation for another day.
That's a co-ed conversation.
Yes. I think, and I'm gonna just touch on it real brief. I think people get offended when their mate puts a boundary in place.
No, I think boundaries are important. Like that's like your respect in your relationship.
It's like they have a right to certain things just because you're in a relationship.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And all of that, you know, bringing it to the table as far as that protection and that for me, I think my biggest thing is like, you know, making sure that we're connecting on an intellectual intimacy level, you know, protecting that, making sure that, you know, my peace is protected, my security is protected, you know, bringing all that stuff as well. And all that come with boundaries, you know, everything comes with boundaries in a relationship. If you real and you want your relationship to last, I think boundaries are super, super important. Like there are some places you can't go in relationships if you are not invited.
True. And it's important for that so that you don't lose yourself trying to stay in a relationship, because then you become someone else that you don't recognize, for one, and for two, that other person that's not who they, you know, got into the relationship with. Now you're somebody totally different, and it just throws everything off. So it's very important to have boundaries so that you don't lose yourself. Now, it's the one thing to grow. You know, you always want to try to grow as a, you know, individual and as in a relationship. But, you know, that comes with boundaries and communication as well.
Yeah. And even like if you've had though, like Lil Webby was talking about, you have those emotional traumas where, you know, we can't talk about certain things right now, or we can talk about them, but don't just poke the bear trying to fix me. I'm gonna fix myself. Let me fix myself. Don't try to fix me. You know, there's some certain levels to that where, you know, I may have had some kind of childhood trauma and you trying to fix me. Don't, you know, because that's going to push me over or push me away or things like that. Setting up those kind of boundaries and respecting those, you know, saying, hey, when you're ready, you know, when you're ready to share or when you're ready to let me in. But, you know, maintaining that boundary so that we can grow and mature and nurture us in the way that we need it, you know, versus what you think we should have or be or at that level.
But with that, I think we need to do a better job of communicating what that looks like. Because when you meet someone and they say, okay, this is what they like and don't like, and they bring up the word support. Well, support for me is different from what support looks like for you. And that definitely needs to be discussed, because what I've seen with couples is whoever, male or female, is like, well, I've been supporting you. I've done this, and I've done that. And the receiving party is like, that's not support for me. And
that's what you're supposed to do.
Is crushed because here they are thinking they've been supporting you, and they're frustrated with you because you're not receiving or acknowledging the support, but it's not what it looks like for you.
Right. And just not, you know, not downplaying it, and because you're experiencing it, not the other person. And so, like, what I mean by downplaying is when somebody else is kind of going through something and they're, you know, they're setting their boundary, like, hey, I'm not ready to talk about it right now. Don't downplay it as, you know, well, you just have attitude, or you just this, or you just that, because you don't know exactly what that person is experiencing. You know what I'm saying? So you have to, just, keep that in mind, is that, you want the same respect and safe place as somebody else. And like Lil Baby said, you thinking you're doing this and you're doing that, and it's not even what they asked you to do. You did it based off of your experience and not their experience.
That's
Do
why.
you feel,
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you feel like in relationships that you should disclose all that information up front, like stuff that you're going through or dealing with?
I would say it should it at some point it should come out as you go but you have to be able to kind of trust that person. Like, a lot of conversations have to have taken place already so that you feel safe enough to put that out there. I mean, like I said, to a certain extent, some things need to be straightforward, straight up front. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you want to put it out there so that they are aware, and give them the benefit of the doubt. Give them the opportunity to say if they want to continue on with their relationship, or if they want to continue on, with their friendship or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. However, some things, if you're not planning on spending your, building a future with this person, then I don't think it's necessary to disclose everything, if that makes sense.
I'm with you. Like, some things that are, for me, like kind of no-brainers, the top things, like if you have kids, I think that's something you should tell the other party. And I say that now, I don't know if we are, I know Bree and I have kids. I don't know if you have any children, but I have a friend, this was many moons ago. She was dating this guy, and he told her his kids died in a car accident. And so she was like, okay, and they were living together. Fast forward, they were living together, and she overheard him on the phone with his kids.
Yeah, so that's a straight up just lie.
Right.
Like now, how can you carry on a relationship after that? Like, that's a big lie.
My point exactly. Those are things that I feel that need to be disclosed. Now, you had some, and I'm going off on a more extreme end, some sexual assault or some other assault that you're just not ready to share because, one, you don't know how the person's going to handle it. Two, you need to trust to see if that person's going to be able to handle what you're saying. Then I understand that, because everybody doesn't need to know, everybody doesn't deserve every part of you. So, and during the vetting and dating process, you have to figure out if that person can handle that.
And honestly, I feel like you typically know, when it comes to that part where, the intimacy is building and the desire is building, when that person is interested in going to that next level, then you know the right time to disclose that type of thing, so that they're fully aware that if you are hesitant, they know why. And it's not that you're just unattracted, you're not attracted to them, or, you just want to, some women will do it the first night, some women do it 3 months later, some women may wait till they get married. Whatever that decision is, even if it's, even if it's not, a sexual indiscretion, like what you just described, even if it's just, I just want to wait, those conversations at some point need to happen, and you don't just leave somebody in the dark.
I think if you're practicing celibacy, that needs to be a top thing at the date. What's going on with that? So, and let that person make a decision for themselves. You can't be 3 months in and be like, oh, by the way, I'm 5 years celibate. You're muted.
I was gonna say, yeah, very true, very true. And I think that goes both ways for men and women, That's super true. I think sometimes I think about people that usually have like sexual traumas. They tend to not want to say anything because one, they don't want to be taken advantage of, or two, they're just not comfortable and they ain't really dealt with it themselves, you know? Even when it happens to them when they're, you know, smaller, they think they, you know, are okay, but they're not. My kids are loud.
But at the same time, we have to find a way, you know, to not be afraid of what how the other person may react. You know what I'm saying? Like, one thing I always taught my kids is when you're ready to have certain conversations or when you're ready to make certain decisions, be ready for what comes after that, because the person that's on the receiving end may receive it well, they may not receive it well, but you cannot take ownership on how that person responds or reacts to what you just said or did, whatnot, you know. And so when you're, you know, disclosing your information, that person may decide, hey, you know, this relationship is not really for me, and that's okay. I don't think you should be afraid to be yourself and put, you know, put whatever it is that you need to put out there, you know, because like you say, you know.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I said, I don't think you shouldn't, but I believe that's definitely easier said than done. From my own relationship experiences, I've shared things with guys, well, particular individuals, and they both handle it very differently, to where I felt like going forward, I wouldn't share or be vulnerable. I struggle being vulnerable with other people after them because of how they made me feel. So I can understand why people have hesitation with sharing certain things with people because of how they've because of what they experienced.
Yeah, but one thing, I get what you're saying, but one thing that you said is how they made me feel. And it's just like, one of the things that I say is what you allow yourself to feel. Because nobody can really make you feel a certain type of way. Now, you may not like how they reacted, and you might have felt some type of way about how they reacted, but you have to allow those feelings to come up. And now, trust me, I have been in a situation. It's like you say, it's very easier said than done, but I've just had to learn, especially in my situation, that I was afraid to say a lot of things. But the person that I'm with was able to handle it. And he could have very well made the decision to walk away, but he didn't. You know what I mean? And so that's, again, and I may have missed out on a wonderful relationship had I not said anything. And you know what I'm saying? So that's why I say sometimes you just gotta just put it out there and just be ready for what comes afterwards, because somebody's gonna be able to handle it.
Absolutely. I had to get to that place. Oh, go ahead, Tricky.
No, you good. No, go ahead. Oh, first of all, fix your face. But go ahead.
I hate you so much right now. What I was gonna say is that I eventually had to come to a point in my life, like, it's okay to be vulnerable. Love is a gamble. Relationships are a gamble, and you're not gonna know until basically you roll the dice.
Finish your statement, ma'am. So what I was gonna say was sometimes y'all, in my mind or in my experiences, y'all mistake me for them. I'm not them, I'm him. So don't prejudge me because of what somebody else did. And like she said, everything's a risk. Everything is a risk. Going outside is a risk. Being friends with y'all is a risk. Everything is a risk. You have to know, to me, it has to be a mindset. You have to be in the mindset of willing to jump in the water or jump out the water, since y'all say the dating pool is full of pee. So if that's the case, then why y'all still swimming in it? If you find somebody want to get out of the water with you and go take a bath so y'all can swim better, so get out the damn pool. But I mean, and then have conversations. That's why when they ask that question, you know, how long does it take a man to know he really want to be involved with you? It don't take long, because we ain't finna take you out on 3,000, 4,000 dates. Not even do all that. What? We gonna have a conversation. And I'm going to know within our conversation, within our vibe, if our vibe cool on the phone, then I know in person it can be the same. But if our vibe really ain't cool on the phone and you kind of flaky with the whole being consistent, but then you keep getting on me because I'm not consistent, or you don't call me back, you don't call me back. I'm going to tell you now, as my mother would say, I'm going to get off the freeway and get on the service road and watch me fade to black.
I don't
Period.
think that we don't know. I think that when we're dating people, we know. It's just, are we willing to settle for that option that we have right now?
So
Is this
so why is it settling? How do you know? How do you know if the option is even good? Or let me ask this, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize, but I want to ask you quick. How do you know it's you settling when you haven't even did the investigation of him yet?
oh, we know. A lot of times we know ahead of time. Like we know if it's the right, first of all, when it's the right person, period. I think that's man or woman. Like you have those same symptoms of, when that person isn't around, you just constantly thinking of that person to feel like you can't breathe. Like you got to know, what's going on with them, make sure they're okay, all that or whatever. Are you just doing stuff for them naturally, not intentionally, but your mind goes to, oh, I'm cooking, well, I'm gonna make him a plate, or I'm out shopping, I'm gonna buy him a t-shirt, or it's you naturally gravitate to those things when it's that person. Sometimes when you're dating or whatever, you don't know. I mean, but you don't know. You think they good guy, good character. I mean, seems like you got a good character or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it may be a few things on your list that he don't check the box for. And I mean, don't check the box for, we're gonna put a big one out there. He don't dress the way he don't have the appearance that I want him to have, in a sense of he's not as clean cut as I would want him to be, or he too clean cut for me. You know what I mean? It's like certain things like that we have put on our list that's not realistic,
Thank you, because when you said he not clean cut or dressed,
I mean, I'm just
I was gonna
saying,
say that's
there's
like a dude. That's like a dude saying, "Oh, well, she cool, but what? She got too much weight on her."
no,
But
that's
she,
not what I mean. I
but,
mean, it would be like she
but that's the
cute,
same
but she don't
shallow
keep herself
thing.
together.
But I mean, saying shout out to maybe she ain't never had nobody give her that standard of keeping herself together. Maybe
Right,
she
that's
ain't
what
had to
I'm
do
just
it quicker
saying.
somewhere.
But that's
But I'm
that's
just
sometimes we have a checkbox of our own, like we want a guy that do these certain things, you know what I mean? And so when they don't do them, it's like, ooh, maybe I need to look a little deeper and make sure I'm just not being, overlooking this guy because of something that's material or something like or something that annoys us, that could be as little as picking his nose, like, oh, that might be somebody's pet peeve and that he does it, but everything else checks the box, So it's just little stuff. Like it could be, I don't want to say something that's not little. Okay, so let me give you a real world scenario. So date this guy. He not clean. He not clean in the sense of he don't keep his environment clean, right? But when you're around him, he smell good. He always feel like he take a bath and all these other things. But when you think about a relationship or a marriage or anything going forward towards that, you think about, oh, I'm gonna have to clean up after this dude. Like, is that something that I can deal with in my relationship? You know what I mean? Or somebody
I
that
dig you. I dig on
that
that.
don't never keep a job, but man, they're amazing in every other area.
I'm gonna have to flag on the play. Him not keeping a job is a problem. That is a problem.
I'm just
Hey, look,
saying,
the world
everybody
is
got
the
that
world is real out
No,
here, pimp. What do you mean? The
that's a
world is
problem.
real out here, pimp.
What you talking about?
Some dudes are not working
But
because
you
they
don't need him
don't
to
want
pay
to.
the rent. Remember, you don't need him to pay the
Some
rent. But he's
dudes have
cute.
lost jobs, not on purpose.
I ain't talking about the dudes where life happened. I ain't talking about that because hell, Duncanville ISD can shut down today. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about because you day one then cussed out everybody, then you mad because you lost your job. I'm talking about them.
Oh, no. We talking, well, I'm just saying, just somebody that just don't keep a job because they don't have to, or because they prioritize the kids over the jobs, or they prioritize family, just, other stuff that's over financial things. If you got financials and you can handle them and that's your thing, you're more the financial breadwinner. What's to say that, this man doesn't 100% compliment you in every other area other than finance? So do you settle because you got to have a man to have a job? Like,
such a strong word.
Yeah, I say I don't think it's a settle. I think it's because there is no perfect male female in a relationship. There are going to be some boxes that we don't necessarily feel, and there are going to be some boxes they don't necessarily feel. But if you have enough, positive things that that can make the relationship, or where, or some things where we can complement each other where we lack. Like I just told y'all that my man is OCD. Like he clean, he gets down, he gets down. It's some things that I just miss. He not gonna that wasn't like a deal breaker for him, that I don't, not as meticulous as he is when it comes to things like that, or not to mention the cooking thing, like yeah, like he cooks very well. He cooks all the time. He loves it. And there's other things that I cook that are just different. You know what I'm saying? And so we share that experience. You know what I mean? And so I think that like you say, people just have all these unrealistic boxes. And I think as women, unfortunately, I feel like we have a lot of them. And we just have to really understand what it is that we want. What is it that we want, and what kind of wiggle room can we deal with, because they're going to have to deal with some wiggle rooms too.
Yeah, definitely what we probably, I would probably say more so what we need out of a relationship, not necessarily what we want, because sometimes what we want ain't really what we want. For real.
And I get what you're saying, but some of the things that we still need to kind of pay attention to, some of the things that we want, because you don't want to be in a relationship just based off of need, and then you don't have any passion behind it because it's not really what you want. Because that goes back to, I need somebody that's gonna pay all my bills so I can stay at home and not do anything. You have some women out there, but they getting what they need, but then they get knocked upside their head because it wasn't a man they necessarily wanted, but they getting their needs met. He D'ing her down real good all the time, but she she out here, she don't have anything. She looking crazy, he don't buy her anything. You see what I'm saying? So it's okay to have some needs and also some wants, but I wouldn't call it a settle because it's not everything.
Right. I'm gonna say this, and then I guess we got to get on off of here. I think first, as women, we need to reevaluate the list. Really understand the difference between a need and a want, and is it realistic? We've gotten so caught up in, he got to be tall, he got to be slim, he got to be this, he got to be that, but we never once said, oh, he needs to love me, or he needs to love God, or can he follow Jesus and then lead our family? But we worked out if he made 6 figures.
Right. Is he providing me any emotional intimacy or intimacy on any level, other than, those are all, questions that should be important versus, is he going to, pay this bill or buy me this car?
Because
yes.
Right. How do he treat his children, your children y'all have together, parents, family, like, you know what I mean? It's a lot of things.
So y'all, I guess we gotta go. It's 8:35. He done left us. So any final thoughts?
Just like you said, let's reevaluate these lists and make sure we pick a man that, not just hit those, not necessarily hit the physical, boxes, but definitely the emotional and mental boxes that, that pour into us so that we can also pour into them.
Bree?
I say, let's think about this. If you can't take it to heaven with you.
Mm.
We need, we need to make sure that we're not placing all those things before the relationships. Before first of all, it's God first. If you can't, I don't know how exactly I'm going to this, but like, I can't take my car, I can't take my money, I can't take my job, I can't take my kids with me when I go to heaven. So it's just, what type of legacy are you leaving for the people that are left behind? You know what I mean? Is your life, what fulfills your life, your spirit? Are you living I know we fall short of the glory, but are we at least, seeing that first before everything else?
Oh, it's me. Again, like Jules said, we definitely need to reevaluate the list. Definitely agree with you, Bree, that we need to make sure that God comes first, and we shouldn't be putting man before God, even if, so that's a no. We definitely got to, go back and sit down and differentiate the needs versus the wants and make sure that it is realistic.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. It was fun chit-chatting with y'all tonight.
It was. We might have to do a part 2.
We might have to do a part 2 since we didn't get to do our Mother's Day, but the guys got to do their Father's Day. I feel some type of way.
Well, it was real, ladies.
All right, y'all. Until next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.